Satnam ji, hello, welcome everyone. Good to see you. Satnam Sohel, good to have you here. Welcome everyone. We have a topic today. We're going to be exploring the symbol, the swastika, which is a symbol that unfortunately got very bad publicity through the Nazi era, Nazism. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But it's a very ancient symbol, and we're going to find a little bit of the mysticism behind the symbol in a possibly a new approach, something that you may not find easily in the internet. I don't even know if there is any video talking about this, but it's a different perspective on the Nazi symbol, the swastika, that Shiv Charan Singh gives a new perspective to it, which is linked to the way to understand dates of birth and sequences, life sequences, and so we will utilize it to understand the date of birth better. Satnam Infinity, good to see you. So we're going to go into that today, exploring some mystic symbols. And the thing with the swastika is that it's a very ancient symbol. There is records of having found this symbol thousands of years ago, and definitely not connected to Hitler. So what's the thing with that? Now, I'm not very sure if it's just because Hitler was interested in the occult and he would use symbols for power, gathering the power. Satnam Isabel, hello, good to see you. So he would be utilizing a symbol that is powerful to try to empower what he was doing. That could be one understanding. Or simply because it was a symbol that was utilized all throughout history, even up until the time when Hitler became so famous. So there's plenty of records of this symbol being utilized in sports, in government bodies, and many places in Europe just before the World War. So it didn't arise with him. But the symbol is very ancient. It's a symbol that is connected with spirituality and with something divine or transcendent. And there is the two versions. There is one turning in one direction and the other one turning in the other. But it's very, very similar, and they are both, let's say, utilized to represent this something divine. Now, the way we see it in the utilized by the Nazis is like this, right? And it's generally in a flag within a red circle. So this would be red, and this is white. And as I mentioned, there is both directions. So you can do the symbol like this, and you can do the symbol the other way. And this would be called, if you look in Sanskrit, in Hindu tradition, this would be called swastika. So that's this one, and this one would be swastika. So it's just like a little U introduced in the letter. But they are both basically the same. The only difference is that this one is more associated to solar energy, to the sun, and this is more to the moon or darkness. So when we associate this symbol to the sun, this would be about the sun in the sense of prosperity and abundance and well-being and happiness and joy and all those things. So it's a very happy symbol. It's a symbol of something prosperous. And the meaning of swastika, if you look, in the Sanskrit dictionary, this will be translated as conducive to well-being. Conducive to well-being. Now the dark side is similar. It's not that it is, by being dark, is something evil about it. Dark is associated more to Kali, but it's also one of the goddesses in India, and it's not evil necessarily. It's just the contrast between yin and yang and sun and moon. However, what we are going to be exploring today is something completely different. Now, this symbol can be understood in many other ways. I checked the Wikipedia to see if I found something interesting just before connecting, and there was some history of this symbol being associated to the four winds, like they are. I mean, this turns right with the wind. It's like a windmill, so you can see how it would be associated to the wind, and in particularly north, south, west, and east. So we have the four winds represented by the symbol. It's also something associated to the North Pole. There's very interesting in the Wikipedia. You can check by your own how the different ways you can see the North Star, the constellation with the North Star is kind of this shape, and you can see it in the sky, how it can, depending on the moment in the year and the position in the globe that you are, you may see it turning one way or another, but basically they form the same symbol. So this symbology is very interesting, how you can find it in different places, but the one that we are going to be exploring is linked to the date of birth. So let's see. Now, conducive to well-being, that's going to be interesting, because one of the things that we mentioned when we were beginning to explore the numbers and date of birth, I mentioned that there would be some sequences of numbers that would be natural sequences, and they would be, because they are natural, if you follow them, it would be healthy and natural, and it will be conducive to well-being, actually. So these natural sequences, we could find them associated to the pentagram. We have seen this diagram before. And we mentioned that we can initiate a sequence of movements through any of these points. Yeah, let's look at this. Don't look at the 5, because the 5 is special. But we can initiate the sequence of movements from any of these points. And now that we have started to study the date of birth a little bit, we will guess that somebody will start speaking from here, or they will start speaking from here or from here, depending on the situation that they are talking about. Let me give an example. If I speak to somebody and the first thing that they tell me is how they are going through a moment of crisis in their life, crisis is linked to destiny, is linked to choice, and it can be linked to the, in crisis you lose your air, you lose your breath. So they would start from this place of the diagram, from the corner of the 4 and 6, from this corner. If somebody comes to me and they say, I am in crisis, the sequence that I expect them to follow when you are in number 4 is 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Very natural sequence, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if somebody starts from the 1, if somebody comes to me and they say, well, I'm initiated in a new project. Okay, initiate is 1, is a start to begin. So they come from this area, from this side of the diagram. And then I would expect them to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you look at here in the diagram of the pentagram would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So following the lines within the pentagram. So you got it. If you start from 4, you go 4, 3, 2, 1. If you start from 1, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing breathtaking so far. Yeah, nothing really dramatic. Let's just do this on this paper. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be 1, 2. Remember, these are. Let me put the numbers here just in case, because we are just starting to understand date of birth and it could be confusing. So this is 1 and 9. This is 2 and 8. This is 3 and 7. This is 4 and 6. Don't worry about the 5 and the 10, but it's in here. This is what we were seeing here, the last day. Yeah, 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, and 4 and 6. Well, okay. If we start in the 1 and we do 1, 2, 3, and 4, that means we are moving in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if somebody starts in 4 and they do 4, 3, 2, 1, then they are moving in this direction. So they could be moving in both of these directions. So far, so good? Yeah? Simple, huh? All right. Now, what happens Just bear with me. This will make sense very, very soon. If somebody comes to me and they say, well, I have a problem at work. Okay, something about work, let's say. Let's not say problems, because problems in general is 2 and 8. But let's say, I have a lot of work to do, or there is some work that I'm doing, or some issue at work. Okay, some issue at work, something happening at work. Well, work and play, this is related to the 3 and the 7. So they start from here. Now, if they start from here, the sequence, we know that when we start from these sides, we go through the periphery. We don't go through the middle. So rather, when from 1 we were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, as if we were drawing the star. From 3 we are drawing the circle. So it's 3, 1, 4, 2. 3, 1, 4, 2, or 3 and 7, 1 and 9, 4 and 6, 2 and 8. So if somebody starts in the 3, when they come to me and they say, well, I have an issue at work, and they start here, I expect them to go, remember, 3, 1, 4, 2. Well, let's do that. 3, 1, 4, 2. And I think you see where I'm going with this, yeah? 3, 1, 4, 2 in this direction. If somebody comes to me and they say, well, I have an issue about health, I have some disease, a problem that I have to deal with, they're talking about health, this is life and death and healing and problems, and this is 2 and 8, well, the sequence, they will start from here. You see the 2 and 8 is here, the 4 and 6 is here, the 3 and 7 is this is not written in the same way as here, okay? So you have to look at the diagram like this, 2, 4, 1, and 3. That would be 2, 4, 1, and 3, okay? So when we come here, if somebody starts and tells me I have an issue with my health, they start from the 2, then they go to the 4, then they go to the 1, and then they go to the 3, and that's the ending of the sequence. So the four natural sequences that we can have are 1, 2, 3, 4, following the green line, 4, 3, 2, 1, following the green line backwards, 3, 1, 4, 2, the red line, and 2, 4, 1, 3, the red line backwards. Now, the green line and the red line, both together, they are showing the swastika. Swastika. You see? It's the same as the swastika. And interestingly enough as well, the red line, if you look at the sign, that's an N, and the green line, it's a Z. The word for Nazi. They will tell us, no, Nazi comes from National Socialism, yeah? But actually, if you look at the symbology, and there is lots of clues that Hitler was interested in occultism, and he would be, gathering some mudras, like we would use in yoga some of these mudras, but we would keep the hand in the heart. He would remove the hand from the heart and put it down, or even bring it to the navel. So he would utilize this energy to empower what he was doing, what he was wanting to do. And how interesting then to this word, Nazi, and symbolizing the N and the Z, which are a natural occurring power in nature. And it's like trying to gather that power for their own agendas. But yes, there's nothing evil about this. This symbol has been associated to Buddhism, to Hinduism, to many other traditions. It's a spiritual symbol. It's just been utilized for a dark power. But the power is power, whether you utilize it or you misuse it, power is just power. So when we go into the date of birth and we look at somebody's date of birth, we can find how they can empower themselves by following the right sequence. Does it make sense? So far, so good? And out of these 4 sequences, we all have a tendency to follow mostly one of them. And that one is different for everybody, but is the same one for the whole life, generally. So let's say, what is my life sequence? Whatever my life sequence is, that means one sequence which I am going to be walking again and again and again. So whatever things are happening in life, my first tendency is to go to here, or to go to here, or to here, or to here, and then start the sequence. So if I go first to here, I do 1, 2, 3, 4. If I go to here, I do 4, 3, 2, 1. And we can find this out through the numbers of the date of birth. And that's really useful when we are talking to somebody and trying to explore where they are going through, what they are going through, and where are they going to. So the issues that are happening within them and what is the direction that they should take. I spoke in general terms the other day, and I said that all of us, we have a gift. That's this one. Let me pull out a little bit more. In general, I said that we all have a gift, and we're moving in a direction of our destiny, and the karma and the drama are like the challenges that we face in between. However, that was being a little bit like a universal approach, but there is a much more personal way to do this. And I said before, don't pay attention to the 5 and 10. Well, now is the time to look at the 5 and 10, because this is the place where all of these sequences combine, and combination and joining is part of the 5. So in order to know which of the 4 life sequences is the one that we explore the most, excuse me, we have to look at the numbers of the date of birth, particularly at the middle number. Remember that the middle number is the one like the window through which we can look at the world, and whatever happens, this is the first number that triggers. Well, let's do that then. Yeah. So if the middle number, let's say it like that. Let's say the middle number, if the middle number is from 1 to 4, or from 6 to 9, the sequence is quite obvious. So for example, in this one that I was doing the other day, I just made up a date, 14th of August, 1965, and the total was 7, coming from 34. Well, for that person who starts with this, would start with the 7. So for this kind of person who was born, everybody who was born on this day, their first tendency is to go to the 7. And the 7 is this quadrant, the 3 and the 7. So the tendency would be to follow the red, the N, the letter N, in this direction. 3, 1, 4, 2. However, because they start from the 7, they don't go to the personal numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, but to the impersonal numbers. So 7, 9, 6, 8. So if somebody here has the 7, the example that we are just seeing would be 7, 9, 6, 8. Yeah, hopefully it's clear. If somebody's middle number, if the middle number was a number 8, they would follow the opposite. 8, 6, 9, 7. If somebody's middle number is 4, they would be doing 4, 3, 2, 1, because we do the Z backwards. If somebody's middle number is 6, they would be 6, 7, 8, and 9, and so on. I think you can figure it out. 1 to 4, 6 to 9 is quite obvious, yeah? 9, 8, 7, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 2 in between as well. Quite clear. There's a few exceptions then. What if it's not 1 to 4, 6 to 9, but it's actually number 5? Well, let me do number 10 first. Number 10 is also easy, because the number 10 in the middle remember that we have to add all the numbers of the date. So 1 plus 4 plus 8 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5. In this case, was given 34. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so this 7 comes from 34. Now, if this was born on the 15th, it would be 35, and this would be an 8. Well, if we have a 17, this would be 37, and this would be a 10. Okay, so this 10, let's look at the 10, always comes out of the addition of two numbers. And I say always, almost always. I mean, now we see more. I mean, when I started studying this was in the 19 something and 90 something, right? So now we have the 2000s, and therefore somebody can be just directly a number 10. Somebody can be born on day 2 of the month 2, and then 2022. Okay, that would be a lot of 2s, but that would be the addition of all the 2s would be 10. It would be 10 directly in that case. So in that case, when you have it directly, it's a different case. But in most of the cases, when you look at the middle number, it's an addition of two numbers. Well, 10 can be different kinds. It can be a 19. It can be a 28. It can be a 37. I'm not sure if 46 is even possible. But let's take these ones. Well, if 10 comes from these combinations, then it's very simple. It's telling us 1 and 9. It's telling us, look, this is the most important quadrant. So that person would start in the 1 and 9 quadrant. So their tendency is to do the green line again. So they would do 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one, 2 and 8, the tendency is to do 2, 4, 1, 3. And this one, 3 and 7, the tendency is 3, 1, 4, and 2. Hopefully I'm not losing anyone. I'm trying to do it slowly to make sure that everybody's getting it. But and also, I understand that this may look a little bit abstract right now because we are not looking at examples. But we have to go to the abstract before we can go to the personal. All right, so if the 10 is a direct 10, like the example I gave, somebody being born on the 2nd of February of 2022, well, the total is 10. And then you would say, well, which sequence do we do? Well, in this case, because there's so many 2s, probably she would or he would start from the second quadrant. But you will have to study case by case in this case when it's 10. When it's 11, when the center number is 11, that's also kind of a special number. You have to look, if 11 comes from 29 or 38, you will have to look if it starts from the second quadrant or from the 9th quadrant, which is 1 and 9, yeah? And if it's 38, you will have to see whether it starts from the 3 and the 7 or it starts from the 8. And that you have to see. You have to talk to the person, and as you are interacting with the person, you would have a feeling of where they start from. Or there may be other indications, but that's a little bit more advanced, so I'm not going to try. I'm trying not to confuse you with too advanced things which are too advanced. This is already quite advanced, yeah, going into sequences, but it's extremely important, and it's good that we cover it now because it's going to be coming up every now and then as we move on with the date of birth. So we explore the 9, the 10, and the 11. Mostly the 11 you have to see case by case. The number 10, but the number 10, you can most of the times you can tell which one it is. And there's another one, which is number 5. I left it for the end because it could be a little bit confusing. Well, for number 5, it's easier if we look at it like this. Number 5 is the number in the middle. And having a number 5 in the middle of your date of birth, that just tells us that out of these 4 natural sequences we were just looking at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3, which is basically is the N and the Z, out of these 4, you have to look at the middle, because we are talking about 5. So the middle numbers are going to tell us the clue. So for example, if somebody in the center is a 5, it will be from the... I mean, I can just think of a case which is would be very, very unusual, but that's an isolated case, somebody being born again in the year 2000 and maybe the 2nd of January of 2000, then it's a direct 5, and then you will have to see that case individually. But most of the times, when we have a 5, it's as a result of an addition of 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 3 and 2, or 4 and 1. Is it a 14, a 23, a 32, or a 41? So when you add all the numbers of the date of birth, you have one of these 4. Well, if you have one of these 4, and I said that 5 is the number of the middle, if you come here and you see, well, in which of these 4 natural sequences do we have the combination 1, 4? And that's this one, 3, 1, 4, 2. So that person, their tendency is to go 3, 1, 4, 2. Somebody in the 23, that's the middle number 23, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So they are 1, 2, 3, 4. Somebody's total is 32. Well, 32, we can find it in this one, 4, 3, 2, 1. And somebody in 41, 2, 4, 1, 3. And that's how you identify the number. With this, we have covered all the exceptions. The rule, the general rule, and some of the exceptions. Okay, so let's put this into practice with an example. I think we can... if somebody in the chat, somebody who is online right now, if you don't mind giving me your date of birth, you can write it in the chat, and I will find the numbers for you, and I will say something about the life sequence. So if you are interested, we can do that, and it would be more interactive and maybe more fun to listen to as well. So I'll wait for one date of birth, and then we will... Otherwise, I will make one up, or I will put mine. But I'm happy to take one of yours. So if anybody is listening, give me your date of birth if you wish, if you want to share it. Okay, thank you, Infinity. Thanks for volunteering. Let's do it. So, what do we do when we have a date of birth? First of all, I write it in big. 1, 4, November is 11, 1999. Yeah, and this is Infinity. Well, how about I just do this? I was going to write Infinity, but here we have your name. Oh, so Hale, thank you. I will do yours afterwards. You were born in 1365? My goodness, we have an avatar with us. You've been here for 700 and something years. You are in the cosmos, coming down from the cosmos already. My goodness, you have to tell us the secret of immortality. You should do a video on the secret of immortality. Probably has something to do with Kechari Mudra, I can guess. All right, so Infinity, let's take a look at your date of birth. Well, like this, and then we draw it, and I do, okay, 1 and 4 is 5, coming from 14. 11, it's 11. Sometimes it comes as a 2. 99, it's a 9, but coming from 99. This is a 10. So this is 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 35. The total is 8, 35. Very interesting. We have similar numbers. Infinity. Oh, Isabel as well, thank you. Because I have the 9 here, I have the 11 here, and I have the same total. So we're kind of very similar. Maybe I'll put mine some other time. So let's take a look at the date of birth. This is the date of birth. We already know a few things about this, but today we found out something very interesting, which is the central number 8, is going to tell us the sequence. Now remember, this is 1 and 9, this is 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, which means because infinity has an 8, infinity starts from here. Is it a coincidence that infinity starts from the number of infinity? I don't think so, but okay, so here we go. So this is the 8, and so the sequence is the n, like this, and I do point the arrow. I draw the arrow. So this is the date of birth, and what this means is that anytime infinity starts something in life, they start from here. Even though starting and beginnings are generally the number 1 here, for infinity, their tendency is to first of all go here and then go on. If you try to talk about a particular topic, their first tendency will go here. If they have an issue to tell you about, their tendency is to go here. So it's always starting with this sequence. There's something else. I will explain a little bit more, and then I will draw the other ones. So Hales and Isabel as well, I will draw them. But before, I will say a few more things. It's not only this. There's more. Now, infinity, you are... How old are you? 25? 24? Or 24 or 25 is that? In November. In November you will be 25, right? So, maybe you remember, I spoke about this in another video. Let me see if I can get the diagram. So those of you who were here, you will recognize the diagram. When we were doing number 7, there was one video I dedicated to the life cycles. This will look familiar to some of you. Yes, that video for some reason is becoming more popular than other videos. I don't know. Some people must like the title of Soul's Journey, or I don't know, for some reason. Well, so you are 24, infinity. That means that you are in this stage of life, 21 to 28. So you are in the age of life where the spirit is knocking in. I mean, you are watching this video, so the spirit must be, putting some pressure into you, paying attention to something spiritual. And you've been through these life stages already. Now, this is very interesting because throughout life, we also move through the date of birth in the different life stages. So if your total is 8, you start from the 2 and the 8. This is the beginning of the diagram. Remember, let me put it here. 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, 5 and 10. And that means that infinity is starting from here. Now, that means that the first 7 years of age, 0 to 7, the predominance is these numbers. And you can check if, you can go through the first 7 years of your life. How was your life? What qualities did it have? And this is called the cycle of consciousness. Well, in that cycle of consciousness, you were predominantly here. Now, 7 to 14 would be this one. 14 to 21 would be here. And you are right now 21 to 28. You are 24, which means you are right in the middle of this life cycle. So even though the tendency for infinity is always to go here first, to the 8, coming from 35, and doing 8 8, 6, 9, 7. Remember that because infinity goes to the 8, the sequence is not 2, 4, 1, 3, but it's actually the high number, 8, 6, 9, 7. Yeah, so the natural sequence, it's 8, 6, 9, and 7. It's just that infinity, the numbers that infinity has in the 8th quadrant is 5 from 14. Yeah. It's a 10. It's a 9 from 99. And it's an 11. It can be a 2. So being in this 4th season of life, that means that the number that is going to be the kind of situations that are going to be arising during these 7 years are going to be very linked to number 11 and particularly number 2. Now, the thing about 11 and number 2 is that 11 is two things which are parallel. We haven't talked about this too much. We will go more into more numbers as we progress in the course. But 11 is about two things, one by side with another. And it can be like me and my friend, or me and my partner, or it can be me and God, or me and my teacher, me and somebody else, or me and something else that we walk side by side, and everything is fine. We are just carrying on together. But 11 is 1 and 1 is 2 as well. And when the 11 becomes a number 2, that's the worst kind of 2 that we can have, meaning that the most karmic manifestations of number 2 arise. Now, I can talk about that because I'm also from November, so I am quite aware of those manifestations. When the 11 becomes a 2, remember that number 2 has these qualities. Some are karmic, some are dharmic. Some are dharmic, like healing and fluids and prana, but karmic is the other thing, is like empty, no fluids, no prana, no healing, meaning sickness and disease and problems. So it is possible that for somebody with this date of birth, being in the middle of this cycle, they could be experiencing this parallelism of two things and being side by side, particularly in the realm of work, in the job, or having two jobs, like typical, or problems and unhealthy and karmic issues related to that too. So you can see how it could be manifesting in this way. And somebody who comes to me and they tell me about this issue, I will say, well, look, at 28, this will change. But in the meantime, maybe we can change the way these 2 manifests and make it an 11 again. So you can transform the 2 into the 11 before we move. Satnam Latika, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Good of you to connect. I'm glad that you're around here and you're still watching the videos. We are deep into dates of birth today, going really into a lot of examples. So here we go. So you can see, depending on your age and which life cycle you are, we can see where you are found in the date of birth. There's so much more we could talk about this. There's so many things that I'm observing, like the 9 in the 9th quadrant. That's going to make the 9 even more strong. And we already have 2 9s plus the total. So it's like a lot of 9 energy here, which could be many things. Some things karmic, something dharmic. But it's clearly, this is telling me something. And you have the 1 here. 9s and 1s are masculine numbers. And this is the masculine side. So there's a lot of masculine energy reinforcing masculine energy. But when you go to the feminine energy, 5 and 10, which are more like the center and the outside of the center. So it's kind of extremes. So it's how interesting that you can find this polarity within the date of birth. But again, I'm not going to do a reading because I don't know infinity, right? I'm not going to say how infinity experiences life. But there is a lot of things that you can see how they are connected. And then by talking, they would rise naturally. Another thing very interesting that I observe, I cannot avoid to say some things because I'm just noticing them. It's very exciting. Look, the 8, I said that it points to the 8th quadrant, the 2 and the 8. But look, in the 8 comes from 35. And in the 8th quadrant, you have a 5. So there is the 8 and the 5, and the 5 and the 8. So there is a very strong connection between 5, communication and voice and music and sound and singing and all that, and healing and health and sickness and prana and energy and all those things. So you can see how those two things would be very strongly connected. That's an interesting thing. And look, the sequence ends up in a 2. 11, which is asking to go back to the 2. So kind of like zip, yeah, kind of like that. So this is a way that I can just look at the date of birth and get some feeling and an intuition on where is this going. Well, this is infinity. Let's do another one. We have Sohail's. Hello, Sohail. Let's do yours. I'm going to put you side by side with infinity here. Let's check. Sohail, where is you? 8th January, I will guess it's a 1965. I will put it like that. If you are truly from 1365, let me know. I want to know the secret. I'm going to say 1965. Sohail. And then we go again with the same process. We are seeing a few examples to try to understand what is the life sequence. And this is what I would draw. When I have a consultation, I would draw it like this and have this paper in front of me and then talk to the person. And I have the paper every now and then I check, but this is the person. Makes so much sense. My synchronicities in my 20s are usually numbers 58 and 85. All right. Interesting. All right, Sohail, let's take a look at you. You were born on the 8th, direct 8, not a combination of 26 or anything like that. Direct 8, direct 1, January, 1965. So you have a number 2 here. Could be an 11, but 11, 2. Let me put an 11 like this. And coming from 65. And 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5, that's 21. 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, we have a 21. Plus 1 is 22. Plus 8, that's 30. All right, so we have a 30. That's 30. Is 3 and 0 is 3. So again, this 3 does not come from 12 or 21. It comes from 30. So there's the 3 and there's the 0. These are important numbers as well. I always look at them. They always tell me interesting things. So we have the 3 here. Already, by looking at infinity and looking at Sohail, we can realize that infinity's numbers are very high. That doesn't mean that it's more evolved or anything like that. Higher numbers is just pulling you upwards. It may be more difficult to stay on the ground, stay grounded, to stay down. With high numbers, it may be easier to go into the clouds, maybe into fantasy world and start projecting fantasies. While Sohail has much more grounded numbers, 1, 2, and 3, which again, doesn't mean that it's less evolved in any way. It just means that it has more contact with the base and with the ground. And it may be harder for Sohail to feel elevated or to feel more up, even though the 8 and the 0 of the 10, it's also pulling upwards. Yeah, while here, there's very few lower numbers, except maybe this 1 and these 2 ones, but it's more like an 11. In here, you can have the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 3. So here is more pulling down the energy. Let's take a look at the sequence. The sequence of life, the life sequence for Sohail starts with number 3. Now, when you have the central number, which is 1 to 4 or 6 to 9, that's very easy. That's the quadrant that we start from. So in this case, from the 3rd quadrant, and the life sequence would be 3, 1, 4, and 2, the N. You see the letter N? Just like infinity, but in this case, going the other way around, going in the other direction. So the general life sequence, Sohail, would be 3, 1, 4, and 2. But his numbers, Sohail's numbers, very interesting, because he has a 1 here, a 2 here, a 3 here, and an 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 8. Now, for Sohail, this is interesting because 1, 2, 3, 4 is a natural sequence, and he walks the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, but not from the first quadrant going onwards, but actually going through this sequence like that. Only, instead of going to the 4, he goes to the 8, and the 8 is actually a double 4. Number 8 is 2 4s side by side, one mirroring the other. We will go into the 4 and the 8 when we go forward with the numbers, but this is like saying 8 is compassion and love is 4. We are calculating wrong. 28/3, 1986. Well, that's really it's in your calendar. No, that's okay. That's okay. So hell, we can use your calendar anyway. But then it would be 1365. Oh, I see what you mean. So, okay, no problem. Let me do it again. So it's your calendar. That's what I wasn't sure what was happening with the 1365. But we should use the calendar that you use mostly. So if that's the first day that you gave me, then I'm going to use that one. But we could use the other one as well. But let's do the one that you use mostly. So it's a different calendar. It's not a problem. So let me check again. That would be 8, 1, and 1365. Sorry, I wrote your name a little bit quick. So we would have number 8 of January, 1365. So we have, this number is the same, is the 2 coming from 11, coming from 65. But in here we will have, this is 11, 12, and 3, that's 15. That's a number 6. Yeah, did I do it correctly? 11, 12, 15, 16, 24. So the total, it's 24, which is a 6. All right, so it's very different with this, looking at it with this calendar. Let's take a look. Well, in this case, the central number is 6. Therefore, we start from the 4 and 6 quadrant. Remember, the quadrants are 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6. So for Sohail, he starts here and then moves in this direction. So the sequence, the tendency in the sequence, the life sequence for Sohail is 6, 1, 8, 2. 6, 1, 8, 2. This is the tendency to go. Very different from the other one, this one that we were looking at. And 65, that means, how old are you now? That's 40, 50, 60, 59 years old. Are you 59 now? Well, let's do it. I will do it in purple. Because he starts from here, this would be the first 7 years of age, he's in this quadrant. 0 to 7, then goes to here, 7 to 14, then goes here, 14 to 21, then here, 21 to 28, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, then he goes to the middle, 28 to 35, and then you are 38. Sorry, did I say 48? I put you too many years. No. Okay. Because I don't know which year, you are in this calendar. So, okay, you are 38. Excellent. Thank you. So, you're much younger than I thought. All right. So, Sohail. So you 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, then you go to the center, and then we come back the other way around. So we would go back the way we came. So 35 to 42 would be here. So 38, you are in the middle of this life quadrant, this quadrant, let's say. So the energy of number 2 and the 5, 65, this is what is manifesting most in your life right now, up until a few more years. Yeah, and then when you are 42, in 4 years, you will be changing to this quadrant, and then this quadrant, and this quadrant back. Yeah, so we go in the direction of the arrow, then we go to the middle, then we go the other way around, coming back. Something interesting to notice in your date of birth, since I'm seeing something about dates of birth, that you have the 6 in the 6th quadrant, and you have the 8th in the 8th quadrant. So the feminine energies are reinforced. These are going to be stronger. Your total number is also 6 and 24. So very strong feminine energy, possibly in the realm of art, since number 6 and 4 and 6 is art. We were seeing this here. So there's probably in you the tendency to go to the 6. So a lot about consciousness, human sangat, art, intuition, air. So this would be your first tendency to go here. Then you have the 1 and the 3 and 7. So here you have a masculine number with the 3 and the 7, but it's in the different quadrant. It's not in the 1 and 9, but in the 3 and 7. And here you have the 2 from the 65. So again, another feminine number ending up in the 2. So far we cannot really tell much more because we are not doing a reading. We are just noticing connections, but that would be interesting. All right, do we have another date? I think we have Isabel as well. Isabel, where are you? You are here. 24th, let's do that. 24th of 9 of 65. Sorry. Yeah, 65. Oh, you are 65. Okay. So Isabel has the same number as Sohail, but in different calendar. Oh, that's funny. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. Isabel. Let's take a look at yours. Well, 24, 2 plus 46. I'm hopefully you know why I'm putting everything in this way. You remember when we studied last week, we saw this is the day, this is the month, this is the year, this is the century, yeah? So the day is 6, the month is 9, direct 9, 65, again, there's this 2 or 11 coming from 65, and there's the 3, because 1965, that's 21, plus 9, that's 30, 32, 36. So the total is 36, which is a 9. Hopefully I didn't do any mistake. 10, 21, 36. Okay. And Isabel's life sequence begins with a 9. And remember, the quadrants are 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6. Which means that for Isabel, her life sequence is like this, the Z, going in this direction. Ting, 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 ting. So your sequence is kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, but the opposite, coming down from 9. So 9, 8, 7, 6. Let's see if there is something interesting here. I see a few things. Interesting. On this side of the diagram, on this side of the date of birth, we can see that the 9 is pointing to the 1 and 9, of course, but you also have a 9 in the 3 and 7. So in relationship to the masculine energy, there is these 9s here, the 9 pointing to the 1 and 9, and the 9 in the 3 and 7. So that would suggest that the energy of the 9 is very strong because we start from that quadrant, but also because it's in relationship to your work, the way you play in relationship to people similar age as you, like siblings, brothers, friends. And number 9, remember, it can be like the demon or the diamond, the master or the monster. It can be the one who pays a lot of attention to detail, or it can be the perfectionist. So this is there's a lot of energy in relationship to that in this side of the diagram. When we go to the other side of the diagram, the feminine side of the diagram, we observe, look, the total was saying 3 and 6, and we have a 3 in the 6 and a 6 in the second quadrant. So we have these two quadrants with the 3 and the 6, and the 3 and the 6 and the 9, which is also something that reminds me, I don't know if you can remember when we were looking at how the numbers relate to each other in this diagram of the grid of 9, what we call the grid of 9. We have the internal numbers, the external numbers. That's 147, 369, the personal 123, impersonal 789. Well, in the case of Isabel, there is a lot of these external numbers, 369. So I can see how this 369 is going to be pulling her outwards. Also with this 9 here, which means that whatever she's doing, she's quite likely to be projecting it outwards. So even if it's art, it would be more like an outward form of art, like poetry or music or dancing, something outside, something going outside. While others with more 1s or 4s or 7s, they would have a more internal tendency, the tendency to go more inwards rather than so outwards. So I imagine that for Isabel, her tendency is going more towards the outside, particularly in relationship to the feminine energies. So in relationship to her emotions and her feelings, more opening out. Like the 6 is like the flower, the opening flower, so opening towards the outside. So Hel says, it was also interesting that you mentioned about Kechari Mudra, since I've been doing it for the last couple of years. All right. Did you have any personal training on that, Sohail? Did you receive training on Kechari Mudra? And does it come from Kriya Yoga or some other style of yoga? Because it's, I'm interested about that. I never received direct training on that. And it was just something natural for me, and I never really studied it. I just do it. So I'm not sure how would people go about learning this. Did you have to cut the frenulum, or did it happen naturally? All right, Isabel, so let's take a look at at the age. So for you, I think I would be interpreting your age correctly this time compared to what I was saying before. So you are 40, 59. Are you 59 now? If you are, then we would be moving in this direction. So 0 to 7 years old, 7 to 14, yeah, following the line, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, in the middle, 28 to 35, coming back, 35 to 42, zup, 42 to 49, zup, 49 to 56. And then it would be 56 to 63. How old did we say you were? 40, 59. Is that correct? Are you 59, Isabel? If you are, then you've gone through the whole cycle and you are back into this quadrant. So you would be experiencing the 6 and the 5 and the 2. You will be 59 very soon, yeah, in September. Yes, soon? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you are in this quadrant right here. Let me know if it resonates any of what I was saying. But again, I'm just noticing things. This is not like a reading because I don't know you. So I would have to ask you questions and start talking about relationship to work, to art, to your family, and in order to try to figure out how the numbers are manifesting. And well, we have another date of birth. Satnam Vijay, hello, good to see you. Welcome. Welcome to the party. We're having a date of birth party today. Let's do the last one, okay? Vijay, you're going to be the last one today. And we are just figuring out how to draw the date of birth following the diagram and figuring out the life sequence and how is that connected to this diagram. Famous and infamous diagram of the swastika. So let's do the last one today. Then, when you have this, then you can start keeping it on, writing it down, putting it into a paper or something. And then as we move on with the numbers and we study more about the qualities of numbers, you can be coming back to this diagram and referring to it. And it may be useful for the conversation that we can have. So Vijay, it's going to be 26 of 4 of 62. Welcome to the stream. So 26 is number 8, 2 plus 6 is 8, coming from 26. The fourth month, 6 plus 2 is 8, from 62. Here, 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 2. And that's 18. Yeah, 1 plus 8 is 9. 18. 18, 22, 24, 30. 3 and 0 is 3. Did I do it correctly? It says 18, 20, 30. Yeah, 30. 3. This is like Sohail, I think. No, that was the wrong date of birth for Sohail. Let me cross this one off so I don't get confused. All right, Vijay. So your central number is 3 coming from 30. That means that the 3 is pointing to the third quadrant. Let's remember, everyone. 1 and 9, 2 and 8. By now you all know it. 4 and 6. 5 and 10. So the 3 points here. So this is the beginning of the sequence. Now, if we start from here, do we go the N or do we go the Z? We go the Z. Sorry, the N. Like this. Oh, I did it. Oh, sorry. The 3 points here, I messed this up. This is the other way around. Sorry, I was thinking something else. So it's the end, but it's the end the other way around. I'll just use some Tipex because I don't want to write it all again. Sorry, Vijay. Your sequence is in this direction. Dun, 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 dun. And then through the age, okay, let's take a look. 62, that means you are 40, 50, 62 years old. Right? You're 62. That means 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, 28 to 35, 35 to 42, 42 to 49, 49 to 56, 56 to 63. So you're right here. And you have 1 more year to be in this quadrant. Next year, you're going to be moving back to the center, I believe. So we move like this through the date of birth. And now you have 1 more year to be experiencing number 4. What does that mean? Well, we will have to see. We'll have to study more about the number 4 For the moment, our language is very limited, but we have already been seeing a few things which are connected to 4. Consciousness, the flower, the human, the sun god, connected to breathing, connected to the lungs and the heart and the art. So this is and also this quadrant is this 3 and 7. So that's number 4, but this is 3 and 7. 3 and 7 is the work. So it's in relationship to work. So that's an issue that's going to be important throughout at least 1 more year. So Hale says, I learned it from YouTube and didn't cut anything, but by stretching the tongue, some scratches happens. Right. Okay. And do you find it helps you for meditation? Does it, you notice that it brings more focus or it increases the energy going up? I wonder. Well, this will be the last one for today. Now we know how to write it. Now we know everyone how to do this. I was hoping that somebody would have a 5 or something special here in the middle. It didn't happen, but I did explain the exceptions here, exceptions to the rule. So hopefully that was clear. And hopefully that shows how interesting it is, this movement of the N and the Z within the date of birth. Now, when we learn more about numbers, we will observe how does it change the fact of Sohail having the 6 in the 4 and 6 compared to Isabel having the 6 in the 2 and the 8. Because that's going to be very different 6, right? And yet, they both will have the 2 and the 65 the same. So if this was now, it has been a game changer. Yeah, it's quite strong, the difference. Meditating with the tongue up is very, very strong. But you learn from YouTube. Yeah, this is the platform. YouTube is the platform for learning. All right, so Sohail, Isabel, if this was a Karam Kriya training, I would put the two of you together and to have a conversation, and I would give you a few questions, possibly, and you would explore how similar and how different you are, because this quadrant is the same. So when I ask questions about this quadrant, you would have a similar experience. But then look, the 6 from 24 from the central quadrant is what Isabel has in the second quadrant. And then this 6 is different from this 6. So it would be very interesting to explore like that. Also, look, Sohail has a 1, Isabel has a 9, which is the complete opposite. Well, not the opposite, I mean, they are also connected. But I mean like the more personal and the less personal within the same quadrant. So also this quadrant, they would experience it very, very similarly. So very interesting. So you put these two people together and you have them have a conversation, and we learn a lot about the qualities of those numbers by seeing what is the same and what is different. Vijay says, my daughter expired 12 of 1st, 24, age 31, financial issue. Oh my goodness. Sorry to hear that. That's really young. And it's been only a few months. Sorry to hear that, Vijay. Financial issue. She expired through a financial issue. That's tough. Well, all right. My prayers go to you. I hope you and your family can find that you can relate to her in her passing. But yes, in this case, Vijay, you would look at we could look at the relationship to children. Where is it? Here. This is the number. Sorry. This is the number that we utilize to connect to children. So your relationship to children would be this number 9. I wonder what that would mean. Yeah. But yeah, 2 8s. The 8 is the number of death. So you have a strong connection to death in these 2 8s. This is relationship to mother, this is relationship to father, but this is also like the feminine energy. Our prayers go to you, Satnam, Vijay, hope you deal with it well as we can deal with something like that. But somehow having a connection to the spiritual realm can help us in feeling that we are still connected, and that there is a beyond, that there is a something afterwards, that there is not a nothingness, there is not an emptiness and a disappearance. I did a video on that not so long ago, and maybe you would like to watch it, and we talk about how we can connect to those who have passed. 3592, Prachi, what was her name? Well, all right, I'm not going to do it because that was the last one we were going to be doing, but you can do it yourself and maybe see how you connect to her in this way. But thank you for sharing it. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you got something out of the video. I hope it was useful or you learned something from there. We will continue exploring numbers and exploring date of birth. But we've done 2 videos on date of birth. Now we will be doing other things as well. And then we will start applying date of birth some other time in the future. For today, I think it's enough. Otherwise, we will end up with a headache. Your daughter, yes, Prachi? Yes, I will write it down in the page, and maybe next day you connect. We can take a look. So Prachi. That is 3592. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care, and until Thursday, if you wish to connect, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Naam.